So now we move on to the panel discussion one. Let's deep dive into our wonderfully curated panel discussion. And here we go. So our first topic is making it to the top. Sounds it interesting, right? It's so much full of, like surprise and so much full of curiosity that what is it exactly when you say making it to the top? This is a vision, a dream for every successful corporate professional. But the journey is eventful, sometimes torrid, sometimes hard, sometimes challenging. For women, additionally, the glass ceiling, which is invisible, intangible, but ubiquitous, always there is an invisible barrier on the rise to the top. These challenges and the workarounds over and under and sideways for the divas of this millennium. To discuss this way, we have with us Mr. T.R. Parsuraman, Alice Vedyan, and Mr. T.C.A. Ranganathan to share their insights from their corporate journey. Let me first introduce them before they take up the session further in terms of panel discussion. So, the very first is Mrs. Alice Vedyan. Alice Vedyan, who is the former chairman cum managing director of General Insurance Corporation of India, India's only reassurance company. She is an eminent insurance professional with over 3 decades experience and sought after expert in the insurance and reassurance industry in India and also across the globe. Mrs. Vedyan has the distinction of being the first woman CMD of Indian insurance industry. She is the recipient of several national and international awards. Also, she has served as a director on boards of several Indian and global organizations, such as Life Insurance Corporation of India, ECGC Limited, Ken India Assurance Corporation Limited, and is an independent director on the board of Tata AIA Life Insurance. Our second panelist is T.R. Parsuraman, who is the president and whole-time director and member of the board, who is the Toyota Industries Engine Private Limited with 33 years of industry experience. He is the president of Bangalore Chamber of Industries and Commerce, a most sought-after speaker. His recent talk with Union Minister Shri Nitin Gadkari was enlightening. An all-rounder functionary, production, engineering, HR and administration, and Toyota way of management are his areas of focus and deep strengths. But he is definitely not a man who limits his contributions in any field. We welcome you, sir. Our third panelist is TCA Ranganathan, former chairman of the Export-Import Bank of India, that is Exim Bank, an eminent banking professional with more than 3 decades of banking domain expertise. He currently serves as an arbitrator with NSE, BSE, NCDDEX, Indian Council of Arbitration associated with the United Nations Development Programme, focusing on supporting growth in Africa. A prolific writer and frequent contributory to various economic newspapers and magazines on issues relating to international trade and domestic economy. The session will also, let me tell you that the session is going to be moderated by our founder of Mentor My Board, Mrs. Divya Momaya, and we welcome each of the 3 panelists, and also I hand this over to you, Divya.
Thank you so much, Manisha. It was indeed wonderful to hear the huge experiences which all our eminent panelists have. Yes, the topic is making it to the top. Now, topic is making it to the top, and we have 3 top leaders who have led their organizations from the top with us to speak out their journeys, how they reached that place, and what were the challenges, what were the opportunities, how they grabbed it. So we are going to get great insights from this wonderful panel. So let me welcome all our panelists today. Alice ma'am, Parashuraman sir, Ranganathan sir. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion here with us. And I'm sure the participants are going to get great insights from you all. So first of all, thank you on behalf of the entire team of Mentor My Board. And I'm really sorry for some technical glitches in the beginning. So now I'm sure all the participants are ready with their pen papers in their hands to take up wonderful learnings from today and imbibe and how to make it to the top. So now I would first request Alice ma'am to speak out about her journey, how she made it to the top, what were the challenges she saw, and how what would be your message to women directors, aspiring directors who are leading their organizations currently as directors or into the senior management, or even our professionals who aspire to reach boardrooms. So what would be your journey? And we really are excited to have your journey, listening to it. So over to you, ma'am.
Good morning to you all. Thank you for having me here today at the session. I'm very pleased to be here to speak about my corporate journey. In fact, the topic is making it to the top. And many people think that. Many people have asked me. Hello?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah. So many people have asked me in many forums that how difficult it is to become a CMD in a PSU, in a public sector undertaking. How difficult it is to make it to the top. And you know what I have to say here today is that contrary to what people think, public perception, it is a very fair and democratic process based on seniority and merit. So the point is that if you have demonstrated efficiency in your work, you have shown good results, then you have a good chance to make it to the top. Now you have to seize the opportunity. So when I became the first lady CMD of the general insurance industry, people used to ask me, how did you break the glass ceiling? In a lighter way, and I would always tell them, the best thing about a glass ceiling is that it is made of glass and it can be broken easily. Wow. So it's only you have to make up your mind that you can do it. So it is not that difficult, but then when you are in the race, if you have not missed any promotions in the industry, then you know that you have a good chance to make it to the top. But how you seize opportunities on the way, how you rise up to facing challenges, I think that is the crux of the thing. So as a general manager, when I knew that I had a fair chance of making it, I would volunteer to take on difficult assignments. I even enrolled for a course in Harvard Business School for a training program on leadership. So I think it depends on your enthusiasm and your passion for and the hard work you put in your journey. So I think once I became the chairman, then I think it was a smooth transition because I was just in the same organization. But then the role you play as the CEO is very different from the one just below the CEO. So I think on a CEO, you were asking, what does it take to make it there? So I think from a CEO perspective, I'll say that there are two skills which I feel that which have helped me succeed in my role. One is to have a very bold strategy in vision and execution. And the other was to have very strong communication skills. Wow. So when I say to have a bold strategy in vision and communication, it will mean that as a CEO, of course, your role is to formulate a strategy, a vision for the organization, and to inspire the team. You have to inspire and lead the team to achieve it. Of course, that is a role. But I think execution is the key. So dreaming, having big goals, and then inspiring the organization to execute it. I think that is where the crux of the matter lies. And I'm inspired by that famous quote of Godhe, which says that whatever you dream you can or think you can do, begin it. Because boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And I think I have stood by that in the organization. So the thing with the common refrain in the organization would always be, of course, work hard, but think deep as well. So as a leader, if you have to lead the organization from the front, you have to take the team along with you. It is like you have to have trust in your people, stand with them in tough times, listen to them. I think that is a very important thing, listening to your people so that you learn them every day. So it's
That's
like
wonderful.
in proverb which says, if you want to run fast, run alone. If you want to run far, run together. So taking your team with you and communicating with them every step of the way, that is important as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, I think your journey really inspires us a lot. So thank you, ma'am. I'll come back to you. Now, let me talk to Parshuraman ji, and I would really be excited to know your journey as a leader, your journey, how you made it to the top, what were the, the opportunities, the challenges, how you grabbed it. So over to you, sir.
So thanks, ma'am. First of all, I would like to thank Mentor, my board, for giving me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts on this very important occasion. So, it's a continuous journey. In fact, I don't know whether the achievements is really, whether it is the end of it or it's the beginning. I think it's a relative. But nevertheless, I had an opportunity to work in very good organizations. In fact, my first organization was Brakes India, a TVS company, when I just graduated from my college and just joined this organization when I was a very young boy, 21 years of age. So at that time, my passion was learning. And I was very fortunate to have got a very good team. And day one, I started putting my hands on the CNC machines. Those days, the CNC machining centers and turning centers were a big thing for the manufacturing people. So I started my career as a CNC programmer. And I just used to work, day in and out. In fact, I remember I used to work the first shift, the second shift. I used to come in the general shift, then I used to stretch and used to come back home very late. And, at the end of the day, I always was very happy. I think that kind of the job you like, I think if you're able to execute it from your heart, I think that's the greatest form of happiness those days. So I really enjoyed my job as a production engineer. And this journey was continuing. Then I had an opportunity to work in various other divisions. I started my career in production engineering. Then I worked in manufacturing, then projects. Then I was the technical leader of a particular division. Then when this was happening, the biggest learning was hands-on experience. So even today, that laid a very strong foundation for me. So when I look at my corporate journey, today I hardly deal with the learnings, but it gave me a very solid footage.
Wow.
Then I had an opportunity to go to the B school at IIM Bangalore. Then I took a project on total productive maintenance, which was my passion. And Toyota production system fascinated me a lot. So at that time, I got an opportunity to work in a Toyota organization. And I think the rest is a history. I worked in Toyota Motor Corporation in 2000. I think my family was also there. So before going, I learned the Japanese language for 3 months in Pune. So I would suggest this foreign languages gives you a lot of footage. In fact, for me to connect with the Japanese, their way of thinking, their culture, I think this language has been something fantastic. In fact, today I'm able to talk a very fluent Japanese, read and write. But, I had an opportunity to work with the Japanese. Of course, I traveled to Japan more than 100 times. But all this travel, I think every time was a learning for me. So I visited almost all the Japanese plants all over the world. As far as Argentina, Brazil, and you name any country, I think I was there. I had an opportunity. So I learned a lot of things from this Japanese culture. And I think 3 important learnings I would always love is when I lived in Japan, 3 important learnings that really helped me in my corporate life. I think walk the talk. I think the Japanese people are so fantastic. Once they commit something, I think they give their life to ensure it happens. So I'll tell you an example. When our family was in Nagoya, so we met a Japanese friend of ours, and that was the month of February. He said, Parshuram, we'll meet for a lunch party in my house in the month of September. Honestly speaking, I forgot about it. exactly 1 week before he calls me and tells me, you remember we met in that Nagoya railway station and we would love to invite you to your family. That's the kind of respect for people. And second thing is, their customer sense, which really attracted me. In one of my visits in the Tokyo International Airport, when I checked into the, hotel, after 1 hour, I got a phone from the reception. Somebody was waiting for me. Then I was surprised to see two people with a basket of chocolates and flower bouquet. They said they have come from the foreign exchange counter. They have made an error of 400 yen or so. And they appealed to me and begged to me that they will never make that error again. Actually, I was almost in tears. In India, many times customer is dying. We don't care about the customer. When I take the phone call and say I have a problem with my credit card or a debit card, the standard answer that comes is please hold the line while I transfer you to another operator. Like, to me, this was a kind of a breakthrough. Customer is so important. Once you achieve that kind of a customer sense, after that event, I automatically go to that foreign exchange counter, blindly close my eyes. That's a kind of a trust. And third is, the people's teamwork is something phenomenal. See, we used to discuss in the meetings for hours together, 10 hours, 8 hours meeting, I remember in Japan. But once we come out of the meetings, the action goes like a bullet. In India, we tend to, discuss and agree in no time, but the rest of the time we keep fighting. So that's why I love this word of synergy. 1 + 1 should be greater than 3, which means two people work for a common purpose. Then the synergy of that is something phenomenal.
Wow.
And it should have a ripple effect in the positive direction. So all these learnings put a very strong footing in my corporate life. And of course, I learned several things by working in Toyota for the last 23 years. I've been heading various functions starting from manufacturing, human resources, administration, finance, purchase, IT, production control, logistics. And now I look after the external affairs function earlier. So that gave me a very good breadth of all the functions. And one great thing that I learned in Toyota is the A3 paper, where the leaders are rotated from one function to another function. For example, a person from manufacturing can work in finance because of the A3. See, what is A3 is even our $1 billion proposal to the management is made in a single A3 paper to the board. So this is something phenomenal. You see the big picture in a total perspective. So we define the problem, then the background of the problem, then the root cause of the problem, then the countermeasure, then the action schedule. So this really gives you a macro view, and it's very easy to make a 100-page report. Same report, if you have to make it in a single page, you have to churn your mind hundreds of times. That's where the human development happens in Toyota.
100%.
So this is a great learning for me. You can break the barriers, you can work in any functions. So
I completely understand. Thank you so much. I completely understand. And I think one takeaway, what I think every leader here can take is keep learning, keep that learning attitude alive. I mean, amazing. So now I come to Ranganathan sir, over to you for your journey as a leader from the top and how you made it. And what was one key learning would you like to share with the audience? Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I joined State Bank of India in 1975.
Oh, wow.
So I have spent almost 4 decades in banking. And one of the learnings which we started when we joined State Bank of India, it's a large organization, and we joined as an officer cadre. But our training, we had to do everything, including dispatch and including handling vouchers and records, and how do you manage a record room, which is normally a category 3 or a category 4 type of occupation, but we had to know it. The lesson which you used to get to is that you cannot be a banker unless you can do everything and anything on your own. And in case people are having an agitation against you or something, you can run the bank without any staff. So we learned everything and every bits and pieces. I spent about 2.5 decades before I became a general manager. And as a general manager, I was given an opportunity to start a new outfit in China.
Okay.
And that time I was already plus 50, and you are right, this was there. But they wanted a senior person because Chinese, it was the first time an Indian bank was going to open a bank there. And they said you have to go, and they didn't allow many people to go. They only could allow 3 people to go. So I accepted that this thing was there, and I said I'll go. And I left behind an empire, because as a general manager in State Bank of India, you have under you about 4,000-5,000 officers and staff and everything, and hundreds of branches. And I took a team of 2 others with me, 3 of us, and we wanted to start a greenfield branch in China. And we didn't know Chinese, and we had never been to China. And we did it, and we could succeed in doing it because we started learning the language and trying to understand Chinese thing, and recruiting and taking help of various people. We managed it. Because of that, I was given future assignments as head of international banking, and then I became chairman Exim Bank. And after I retired from chairman Exim Bank, I joined Indian Overseas Bank as a non-executive chairman, because I was specially called and appointed that by the government.
Wow.
The whole process of learning, if you see a journey, it's like running a marathon race. And if you're running a marathon race, you can't sprint. You have to go and you have to do the 42 kilometers. So if you are joining an organization, or you're building a career, your career is not of 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. You have to run the entire 42 or 35 years or 30 years or 25 years. And you have to do it systematically and in a sustained manner. If you try to overspeed or run past someone or play a spoil sport with someone, you will lose out in this. It's like a marathon race. You have to be slow and steady. Then when you are working in a bank or an organization like that, there are several hierarchies which you pass. And as you grow up in the hierarchy, and when I joined the board positions, you have to, debrief yourself and not start interfering in what your lower levels do. Because a chairman of a bank and has under him managing directors and general managers have their own role. But below the general managers are the regional managers, and they have their own role. And the last person down the line is the relationship manager or the field officer or the branch manager. They have the independent role. A chairman can't do the role of a general manager. The general manager can't do the role of a branch manager, and the branch manager can't do the role of a field officer. Everyone has to be. If you can do that, if you can debrief yourself, then you can go up the cadre. If you don't debrief yourself and you start interfering in people's roles, and you are running a marathon. And in a marathon, if you're there, you run into a problem, and you will not be able to, you'll get jammed into a situation.
What a wonderful learning. Yeah.
So you have to keep debriefing yourself, leaving away things and going ahead. And you should always be willing and able to take up challenges, regardless of whether you know about the task at hand or whether you can do it or not. You realize that after you go there. When I went to China, I didn't know Chinese. I had never been to China. I had not been outside India at all. That was the first trip outside India.
Oh.
And to go to a place with no thing on there, they were asking for volunteers. So because I volunteered, I got a jump shift, and soon after that, I became the head of international banking. And then
I think absolutely, that's what you grab the opportunity. As I mentioned, to reach to the top. I mean, life gives you a lot of opportunities. You just have to grab it. So now, thank you so much for, these wonderful insights from all of your journey. And let me now, take kind of a very rapid fire round with all of you. And I'll start first with Alice ma'am. Now make women on the boards count, then counting their numbers. What are your thoughts on this, ma'am?
See, when you say making the number of women count, that is diversity. But counting, you make them really count. That is actually what you say is inclusiveness. You include them in the running of the organizations. Absolutely. So very sad to say that in India, though we have passed this law that you need to have, so 96% of the companies do have a woman director. It is still only 17% of the total proportion of the whole pie. So we need to move, and so the narrative has to clearly move from, rather than counting the numbers, to make the women count. I think a lot of headway is being done in this direction. I think that time won't be far when we really see that we have more women directors. It would be a good idea to increase the number to at least 2 or 3 so that your voice makes a difference in the boards. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, and also to have women lead inside the boards, to be chair of the committees or chair of boards. Sadly, our numbers are 2% and 11%, and also that could also see an increase. So I think it is good to bring in more women, and I think that will really have a multiplier effect on the working of the organization.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I come to Parshuramanji for one very important question which always comes to my mind. How has been your experience as a leader working with other leaders, and how different you see women leaders in terms of capabilities and skills?
See, working with any other person, leaving the leader, is itself a great learning. Actually. In fact, every person has a very, very unique strengths and a lot of learnings that can happen by observing that person, working very closely with that person. So I believe that each person is blessed and gifted with a very, very unique set of skill sets. And it is very unique for them. So I always believe in learning from them. So whenever I work with people in various capacities, I learned several things and I try to imbibe the good learnings. So I really enjoy that.
That's
so therefore, the sigma of learning is very, very important. And especially the women leaders. In fact, I had an opportunity to work with several women leaders in my career. Even today, my present position as the president of Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. So we have a lot of women leaders, even past presidents. So we have an excellent women empowerment committee. It's chaired by, again, a very enthusiastic, dynamic women leader. So what I see in the women leadership is, one great thing is their eye for details, which means they are very microscopic. They don't miss obvious things which we do many times. And another great strength, what I could see, is the balance of emotions. See, when you look at a problem, I think the problem solving skills, I would say, they look more from a holistic perspective.
Wow.
There is a totally reactive approach from the men folks. So I always see them looking from that eye. It's
That's
like
wonderful.
seeing the earth as a beautiful ball, 1,000 kilometers above the sea level. You can put it in your pocket. I think this great insight I get whenever I work with those leaders, which is a very rare trait corporates should understand. Because what is happening is by virtue of their life, the hardships in life, even including the pains they undergo in the childbearing, compassion, love, kindness, empathy for people, I think this is something, a great learning experience, which doesn't come so easily. So this is what corporates should look for. And third important thing is, they are collaborative in approach. See, whenever there is a very sensitive issue happening in the corporate board, I think a lot of heated discussion is happening. I always see a women leader bridging the issues for a common purpose, which is coming many times handy, which is impossible by an equivalent men leadership. I've seen it many times. Because they think differently, but the women, they try to compromise and achieve a passionate harmony, which is a great strength.
Thank
and
you.
Finally, I think the women, in the educated community is increasing in leaps and bounds, and especially the millennial women. I think they see the world from a different perspective.
Different perspective.
Right? When I talk to my 2 daughters, I learn every day so many things. Very difficult to match with their frequency.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you
so
much.
I think they see a different perspective. All these things really is a great boost to the board leadership, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And Ranganatha sir, now when you have led the organization as a chairman, so how the role changes from merely a leader to become a leader of the leader? So you have a board, which is all the leaders there, and then you become a leader of that board. So over to you, sir, your thoughts. So how the role changes from the director to the chairman?
My learning from my working in State Bank of India and later on Exim Bank and Indian Overseas Bank, you cannot become a leader unless you groom leaders and unless you make your job redundant. You must groom a substitute for yourself. If and that substitute, grooming a substitute and who can make you redundant ensures that you will go to the next stage. You know, when you're trying to climb a ladder, learning is one aspect. Training a person below you to push you out and push you up and push you out of his way is another aspect. Leadership is grooming leaders and letting those leaders flourish. And when you start allowing that and you start cultivating leaders, automatically you start getting promoted.
Correct.
The best example of this is in the Second World War, when the Allied invasion was taking place, the supreme commander was Eisenhower. And if you do a Google this thing, he led all the armies. And under him, there were various generals and very, egoistic generals, because you can't be a general of the army unless you are very successful and very egoistic. And he had under him 7 or 8 generals, Patton and Bradley and others.
Mhm.
Handling egoistic generals made him successful.
Oh,
Unless you are able to handle leaders and unless you're able to groom them and make them even more ambitious, you cannot yourself succeed.
that's
and-
wonderful.
If you do that, success for you flows automatically because the sheer push of your juniors pushes you up and you keep on rising. And this is in a very large organization. And this learning, I think, will apply to anyone and everywhere, because even though this was in SBI and Exim Bank, it will also apply to any of these things. Because when you start functioning that you must train person below you to be as good or better than you, automatically you also learn.
Wow.
And that mutual learning and mutual growth is what enables the organization to succeed, your junior to succeed, and for you to succeed.
That's really wonderful learning. Thank you so much, sir. Now, because of this short of time, I will be now moving to Alice ma'am for one question, which is very important. Is that as I know, when we were discussing, you told me that at one moment of time you were heading 13 boards. So I want to, really understand how you manage those multiple roles. How were you able to? And again, the art of balancing is very important and critical. So how was your journey while handling all that? So can you please enlighten us all on that?
Yeah. So when I was chairman of GIC, it was required to be on many Indian and international boards. So you had to be chairman of the subsidiary companies as well abroad, and also for many Indian companies. So as you know, General Insurance Company is a reinsurance organization, and reinsurance is a global business. So we were working with 160 countries. It was travel so much. We had offices in 5 continents, including subsidiaries. So you had to balance boards in India as well as international boards. So sometimes it was very difficult to schedule your meetings. I would miss out on some meetings once in a while. But then the point, what was important was you could draw clear demarcation between how Indian boards work, international boards work, where international boards, you see that they're very meticulous about each and every point. They take a lot of time. In India, we are very time conscious, and we know that we focus only on what is important. To see things from a macro level and from a very broader perspective, that was one thing which helped. Of course, you had to actually go through the agenda yourself, but prioritize on the key issues. Allow free discussion in the boardroom, and also listen to dissenting voices. That is a very important thing in the boardroom, which is required. So getting everybody together to strategizing on how to do it, that is important. And I think time management is an art in Indian boardrooms, especially I've seen across many companies. So that you have to stick to that. Some people just go off the tangent. You have to bring them back in. And I used to keep notes, which helped me to follow up on the successive board meetings. So it was a daunting task, but I learned that the art of time management was the key in all. And how you are able to focus on only important issues and move ahead. I think that is the only
wonderful. I think focus and time management is very important as a top leader at the top when you are handling too many things. Absolutely wonderful. So now we are almost coming to the close of the session because of the daunting time here. But before we move, I would like to take one advice from all of you for the women leaders who are listening to us today, for the aspiring leaders who are there, waiting for their board positions. There are professionals, there are, the senior management executives who have been very close to the boardrooms or who are aspiring on the ladders of the leadership. So now, one piece of advice from all of you, and then we'll wind up the session. So yes, I'll start with Alice ma'am with you.
Yeah, I'll just give just a very short advices, which I always give for young women in a group.
Okay.
The first one is promote yourself. Don't expect your work to speak for you always, because women are actually uncomfortable or diffident about promoting yourselves. Use your voice. That is one thing. Other is, when you're starting out, don't be overly obsessive with your career path. You can try out different avenues to help understand what is the best fit for you. Third one I always talk is establish your boundaries and stick to them. See, women don't like to say no. So you often end up, you don't want to let anyone down. So you end up taking on more than you can. And the other thing is network and collaborate. You need to reach out to mentors and create bonds that actually work for you. And the last one is that leave gender out of the equation once you enter the workplace. I'm very particular about it. You have to work hard, work smart, but don't expect to be treated differently just because you are a woman. Because the first step to equality is viewing yourself as an equal worthy of the same treatment.
Amazing, amazing, wonderful. Thank you so much. So yes, Parshuramanji, one piece of advice from you for the directors here.
Yeah, I think Madam rightly nailed it. I think my piece of advice would be, I think have the great belief in yourself, because I think the women leaders have unlimited powers. Every woman God has bestowed with unlimited powers. See, normally they are very shy to boast themselves, compared to man. So I think once they believe in themselves and try to do the best, I think sky is not the limit, and Madam is a perfect example. All the very best. God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yes, Ranganathan sir, over to you for one piece of advice for the audience here. Thank you.
My advice is that don't think in terms of running a race, which is a sprint. When you're running a marathon, you have to have an attitude which is different from a sprint. And if you're going to be want to be a board member and a chairman or a leader of a board, then you have to work in teams. And team building means that you support and promote team members. And if you promote your individuals and your team members and you collaborate with them, you will automatically get credit for success.
Wonderful.
Do not try to take success away from your team members. Give success, share success, give credit, give there, and try to build a team. And the stronger teams you build and the larger number of leaders that you groom, the more are the chances of your own growth. And I would say this, that women leaders I've seen, and I've worked with women bosses, women colleagues, and women juniors. And person to person, I don't think any difference between a male or a there. To succeed, you must have an attitude of collaboration, of participation, and of allowing talent to groom and grow under you.
Amazing.
If you have that, you will grow.
Perfect.
Do not try to substitute for others by yourself.
That's really, really wonderful learning from all three of you. And I take it, Alice ma'am, you said the time management is the skill. Try to learning, to say no and create your boundaries. When at the same time, you have to shatter the glass ceilings also. So thank you so much for that, Parshuramanji. Believing in yourself definitely, is very, very important. And I think when I talk to women, a lot of times I've seen there is, a lot of limiting beliefs which keeps hindering them. So how you make it to the top is, absolutely very, very, made easy by all of you. Thank you for being here with us. On behalf of team of Mentor My Board, I thank all of you.